touch of butter. Okay, now here the onions must not brown. Okay, you're just cooking them for about 2 minutes until they're glazy. If the onions brown, it gives a very strong flavor of onions to the rice. Whereas the onions should just melt into the background. Okay, that's just about done. Now we add our rice. Now we have to seal the rice pores by sauteing them in this onion and oil and butter mix for a couple of minutes. Next important step is the wine. There's a saying in Italian, il riso nasce nell'acqua e si affonda nel vino, which means rice is grown in water and then gets drowned with wine. Nice way to go. So a little bit of, since it's a seafood dish, a good amount of white wine. Now this is the first liquid that we're introducing. And like with all the other liquids that we're going to introduce in future, we cook it until this particular liquid is absorbed. Now this will take a minute or so. Make sure that your wine is a dry white wine. You don't want sugar fighting with all the other flavors. Okay, now that's just about absorbed. We start adding seasoning from the beginning so that the salt, for example, absorbs into the rice, a little bit of pepper. And now we add our first bit of broth or fish stock. You can use chicken stock, but I prefer for a seafood risotto to use seafood or fish stock. Okay, now you just put a ladle or two just so that the rice swims. And then you cook it slowly, slowly. Unfortunately, you've got to stay there. Risotto is not something that you can disappear. You have to stay there and stir. Okay, as you can see now, this has been absorbed. And as it's absorbed, we add a little bit more. Now we also add, because I love saffron, some Kashmiri saffron that I've soaked in a little bit of water. You have to add this quite early to make sure that the rice gets fully absorbs the saffron flavor as well as the color. Slowly growing and growing, the mass is becoming more. And you just keep on adding until the rice is just about cooked before you add the seafood. Important point also, always use a wooden spoon when you're making risotto. A metal spoon tends to, as you're stirring it, tends to break the grains. And you really want to end up with a risotto where all the grains are perfectly intact. A lot of recipes you get, it'll tell you that the rice should be al dente. It should have a bite. Now if that's the way you like to eat your rice, then cook it that way. I personally don't. I like my rice quite cooked through. So don't ever feel intimidated by books that tell you your pasta needs to be a little bit hard, your rice needs to be a little bit hard. You cook it to the stage where you're comfortable. Now be very careful about the amount of liquid you put in, because once you put the liquid into rice, you commit it. You know, either way the rice will either swell because of the liquid or cook because you're cooking it more, but you know, you committed. So you want to have very little liquid left just when the rice is cooked. So that takes a little bit of judgment, so just be careful towards the end. The rice is almost cooked. I'm not putting any more liquid. So now I'm just cooking that last little bit of liquid into the rice so it gets a bit drier. One of the nice things that you're looking for in a risotto is that sort of creamy texture, which is not actually cream, but it's the starch that's binding with the liquid. So it becomes nice and sort of coagulated. Okay, now we're ready to put the seafood. sliced calamari, some shrimp, some whitefish, some salmon. Here you can put just about anything you want. Some people are allergic to prawns, so they don't put prawns. Here's some New Zealand scallops and some New Zealand mussels. Now we just let the heat of the rice cook the seafood. It won't take very long at all. Now just for flavor, I'll add a little bit of sherry. And then finish it off with a good knob of butter and the ubiquitous Italian masala Parmesan cheese, which goes into everything. Okay, it's basically done. We now let the rice stand for a little while just to absorb the final juices, and it's ready to eat.